Well, good morning, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. The Polk County Board of Commissioners. Today is July 25th. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, are there any comments for items not on this agenda? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the minutes of July 18th?
Also move. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next up, we have Kim Williams with us from the Polk County Clerk's Office to introduce herself, talk a bit about her interest in the clerk appointment. And it's an opportunity, Kim, to talk to the public and.
All right,
Yeah.
well, good morning.
Morning.
Good to see all of you. Basically, I guess what I'll just add is I have been with the clerk's office since 2004. I am the chief recording clerk now, but with the size of our office, we are all very much cross-trained. And so even though I'm the recorder, I've always jumped in and helped and worked in elections right alongside the election staff. So as far as voter registration, ballot insertion, all of that, I feel 100% confident in doing. This past year with Val's retirement looming, she has taken me under her wing and has given me more responsibility when it comes to elections. As far as I did set up this past election, ran all the ballots with the help of some, and kept an accurate count. I worked with the public as far as I gave all the tours this last time just to individuals that are curious about our office and have questions, trying to put everybody at ease about our processes. And on a side note, I was the chief elections clerk for a stint of time in our office. So I do have some experience in that position. So I feel very well prepared to take on this role. I've had a great mentor in Val. She's just been our current clerk. She's been wonderful. So I'm confident that with things coming up that we're going to leave the office and to continuing to do good work.
Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, welcome.
Oh, yeah. Go for it. Okay. So first and foremost, thank you for being here and
Welcome.
thank you for your time spent. Of course, some of what we're doing here is for the benefit of the public
Sure.
to see your face and learn your name and know who you are. And but we should be talking about things that are current events with regard to this job. And some of it is about politics, right? And you haven't had to deal with a lot of the politics, I'm guessing, but you've observed it.
I would say that with our office, a lot of times with the position that our elections clerk is in, a lot of times what they're dealing with is kind of like, I want to say the behind the scenes, signature checking and so forth. So when it comes to working with people, I kind of am at the counter a lot, dealing with a lot of people and on the phone as well. And so, again, Val has this last election kind of put me out there. And so I have dealt with a lot of individuals with the public and emails and phone calls and face-to-face. So, yeah, no, I feel like I have dealt with it.
Okay.
Quite a
So
bit.
do you acknowledge that it is a political position?
I'm trying to understand by political. I mean, we always try to take a pretty non-political stance on a lot of things to be very even as far as not having a lot of opinions when it comes to that, but just running our office. I mean, our job is to just prepare the ballots, take the ballots in, check the signatures. As far as opinions on different things, we try to be neutral and just do our job.
Yeah. Is it a partisan position?
Is nonpartisan.
Okay, good. And when I talk about the politics, I mean your experience in the politics, not that you're making decisions
Mhm.
based on a partisan political position.
Sure.
It is political. And again, the background today, since Donald Trump was elected, has been about whether there's integrity in your office.
Yes.
And across the country, not just across the state. And lots of us can argue merits of different elements you've put in your introductory letter, elements that are coming that I will be very political on.
Yeah.
And you'll hear more from me on that, assuming you get this position, about some of those elements of how we do elections. And I'm confident you're going to hear from a lot of people in the public about some of those ideas going forward. I'm asking these questions because I think it's important for our public to know that you're prepared to deal with those political elements of the job. I mean, it's not fair to the public, in my view, for a clerk to close their door or their mind to different points of view from the public on a political side or a political point of view on how the clerk's office works. I think you've got all of the integrity. I absolutely support you in the functions of the job and the office and the things that have to be done. There is a letter of the law of the way that things have to happen. And so I believe that you have been there doing that work and supporting those systems. I just don't know you on the, but you've expressed some of it. I just don't know you on the political response side of the job. And what's important to me is that we convey from you to the public your position on maintaining the integrity of the clerk's office through all of these political challenges. There are a lot of things the legislature does that will impact you, have impacted you. You may agree, you may not agree. But at the end of the day, it's the law. But I think that there's also, at least I've seen it in Val's experience, places where the Secretary of State's office has imposed things on your office that you may not agree with. Yes, there you go. Here we go. And again, that is a political element. If it's the law, it's the law.
Sure.
But you and I both have been here long enough to have seen things happen from the Secretary of State's office that we would say, this is crazy, or it's absolutely wrong that they should be imposing some of these things. And I just think that it's important for you to be able to tell the public at this point, your point of view, your story on how you make things work and how you maintain that integrity.
Well, first and foremost, we want the public to know that we do have an open door policy, and our office always has, and I plan to continue that. So we will, on a whim at times, have somebody come and they have a lot of questions about the process, and we always invite them in. Come on in, let's give you a tour. Even during a busy election time, we'll take the time to say, come on in, we'll show you the machine, we'll show you the flow of the ballots, we'll show you the signature checking. You can go back, see how the board works. We have cameras throughout our office to where the public can view the processes there as well. And I do plan on continuing that because I do feel like in this environment that we have to have an open process, and we do need to be transparent as possible, because there are security things that we do have to take into consideration when it does come to elections. So, but as far as, things being imposed on our office, we have no control over that. If it's something that comes into law, we have to follow it. And so we just have to do the best we can to learn and, keep educating ourselves. And I have a good relationship with across the state with different clerks' offices. So it is a lot of leaning on each other, asking a lot of questions, with each other. So when it does come down to that stuff, we just have to figure it out.
Well, and I would give you, I've heard from some people who have been through that tour process who probably had a different point of view on what they believed happens in that office and have come away with a changed mind.
Oh, 100%. And we invite the public to come in and see it, because you're 100% correct. It's like they'll have so many questions and they'll almost, seem upset. Give them a tour. We show them how it works. And it's like, oh, okay. I feel more comfortable. It's a good setup up there.
Yeah. Well, and with that, I would also say that it is, of my opinion, and I would say I'm a bit terrified at the prospect of putting a completely green person in that office as the clerk. And that's what elections can do.
Mhm.
And you know better than any of us how problematic that could be. If we had somebody that we were appointing or even in the future that we're electing that has no idea what goes on in that office, has no background or experience, because it is a complex job, I believe.
Very,
Yeah,
yeah.
thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate your
Yeah, you're so
opportunity.
welcome. And I just want to reiterate that I plan on carrying on what Val has established in our office because she's been a fantastic clerk. She's well thought of. I feel like I've been very well trained. I've been in the office for almost 20 years. I feel that experience alone is invaluable in that office.
I'm good. I've got to work with you with some of the citizens' complaints and we've always came back with answers. I've always been impressed with you and your whole staff up there.
Well, thank
I
you.
think you can step right into Val's shoes and I don't think we'll miss a step. So.
Thank you.
Well, and to be fair, the whole staff, it's you and 2 other people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for
I
all
think
that
we're
you
the
do.
smallest staff clerk's office. Yeah.
Yeah.
I come up and visit now and then.
Oh, here and there.
No, their office is a well-functioning machine. In my opinion, you have my memo for tomorrow on the selection and appointment of Kim as the clerk in the future after Val retires September 30th. Yeah, I think it is invaluable to have experience in that job. I can't imagine someone green coming into that position and we essentially would have to at least hire one additional employee just to maintain the ability of that office because there is a learning curve and there are a lot of answers. And as you can see in Kim's memo and just the environment that we're in, there could be major changes coming in the clerk's office, at least in the elections. Ranked choice voting will be if ever passed, will be a game changer, those kind of things. We have to do what the state says we have to do. So, but I've worked with Kim for as long as she's been here. And she's quality people and she'll do a fine job.
So could you give us just the details for the benefit of the public in this meeting of Val's tenure, the dates, and why we're doing this and why we have to make these decisions?
Well, Val started over 30 years ago in the clerk's office. She started kind of as a temporary and then grew into the position. When Linda Dawson, who was the first clerk I dealt with, I've only dealt with 2 clerks in 37 years. So there's a long history of tenure in that position. Val was appointed as the clerk and then subsequently was elected until she decides to retire, which is September 30th of this year. She's been the clerk for over 20 years. I think she was appointed in 2023, January 1. So, 20 and a half years as county clerk. Unfortunately, or fortunately for her, she gets to retire. And as a requirement, the board has to appoint a new county clerk. You have multiple choices on how you do that. I wrote a recommendation letter that we appoint Kim as the next county clerk. Basically because of Kim's qualifications, but also of her knowledge of the job and how important it is to have that knowledge to continue to perform the functions of the clerk's office and to do them well. It is a political position. It is the forefront of elections. It makes headlines. We haven't made headlines. Other county clerks in the state have made headlines. We don't intend on making headlines, but there are mistakes that can happen in the clerk's office that are beyond the clerk's control. And then there are mistakes that happen in the clerk's office that maybe they should have been able to take care of, but never here. Val's done a great job. Linda Dawson was a clerk, but when I first started here, but that was a different scenario. We had voting at the polls. some of us that are older remember that, since the
days.
yeah. Since the change of vote by mail though, you know, it's been a new process. Val had that process, and Kim will inherit that process, and it could be a new process with ranked choice voting or any other changes that are made statewide. So, you know, that's the history. Val's done a super job. She's probably been here second or third longest of any employee that currently is at Polk County. So she'll be missed, but Kim.
And her end date is?
September 30th. So when you appoint per resolution tomorrow, if you approve that, Kim would become the clerk effective October 1 of 2023.
Thank you so much, Kim, for being here. I'm just going to put it out there. I support your appointment.
Thank you.
For lots of reasons. And when you say you have some experience, I think some is probably not the best adjective to use when you have over 20 years of experience. We're the chief elections clerk. So you really are the person for this position for that experience and for maintaining the culture and integrity of that office. And, you know, one thing I noticed during the last election cycle was just some of the public challenges to the integrity of the office and many clerks' offices that were unfounded. And we heard from Val several times on that, and we had her support unanimously in terms of integrity and process and transparency. And I've no doubt that we'll also support you should any of those challenges arise. So just let you know we have your back. And I am a little curious. What is the nature of your anxiety about ranked choice? It's going to be on the November ballot. So
Yesterday alone, I think I watched like 5 videos.
Okay.
To try to, you know, because I'm now trying to educate myself on it. I'm not thrilled about it, but it is one of those things that our office does need to start preparing for. So we'll find out next year.
how do you think that'll affect workloads for staff since we're such a small shop?
You know, I mean, my understanding of it is, I don't know. It's going to affect, I think, the budget more than anything. I think it's pretty spendy to get the machine up and, you know, kind of ready for that. Staff wise, I really need to probably educate myself more on that before I answer that question.
I'm just curious. Yeah.
I think the counting of the ballots won't be that much different.
Uh-huh.
It's if you ever get to a recount
Right.
and then you have to hand recount, that will magnify massively because you're, you know, it's pretty easy when it's one or the other. But when it's ranked choice and you have 3 or 4 candidates, it could get very messy.
So when does term end? Just curious when you'll be up.
September 3rd. Oh, when her term ends?
Yes.
So the clerk's position will be up for election November of 24.
All right.
So
Yeah.
those
Ready for that?
interested.
Yeah, I'm ready for the challenge for sure.
Good.
Yeah.
And if I may, commissioners, I'll just add, just for the sake of the record here, Ms. Unger would have come down as well to help present Kim as a replacement, but due to the size of the office and Cole being on vacation, she needed to be up there just to keep the clerk's office open to the public. So she's the only one up there right now, but she would have liked to have been here.
Appreciate that.
All right. Well, thank you all for this opportunity and
Thank you for stepping up.
yeah, you're welcome. All right.
Have a great rest of your day.
All right. You too.
All right. Well, that works out. Next up, we have Polk County Sheriff update. Sheriff Garton, welcome.
Morning.
Morning. Morning.
So just over the last month and a half, I did give you some information about some of the things that we've been doing. For public engagement wise, we currently are under and in the middle of Pause for a Cause. That's where we accept donated toys, food for any kind of animals. And then we distribute that back out to shelters or the Marion Polk Food Share for folks that need that extra help. And that's, of course, it's in memory of Sergeant Randy Whitaker, who passed away 9 years ago. And so it's been an annual event ever since. The other thing that we're preparing for is a National Night Out, which is August 1st. That is an event that is across the county. There's multiple different neighborhood parties that get together and celebrate National Night Out, where we go and just literally just interact with the folks there and answer questions and talk to them just about what we do, and hear also from them some of the things that are pressing for them. So we get that face-to-face contact. Within the corrections division, there are some stats that I gave you. Do you have any questions about the jail stats while I'm there? Because it's, the numbers are the numbers. It's not. We had 304 bookings within that month and a half period. Our average daily population is 114 with an average length of stay of 20 days. And that 20 days has been that number for, since coming out of COVID. Before COVID, it was in the 15 range, but things are taking a little bit longer through the courts and all that. So that number goes up.
Have you seen any difference there with the new pretrial release / retention protocols?
Yeah. People aren't booked and released right at the get-go. And so we're holding those people, depending on the day, it might be over the weekend or till the following Monday or something. So that increases that average length of stay. But it's a good thing. I mean, everybody gets to see a judge. Everybody then gets that determination if they stay in jail or they go out based on their own circumstances. So yeah, that is, I think, the reason. That's the only thing that's changed since before that, when it was lower. Predominantly, obviously, males are in custody more often. 235 to 69 females during that same period. We do have a jail inspection coming up on this week on Thursday for the Oregon State Sheriff's Association. They come in and they review 304 different points of interest that they have to, or they ask us, we have to provide proof of meeting those standards. It happens every 2 years, this inspection. So there's a lot of prep work up to it, obviously getting things ready. And the inspection team actually starts working on our things as soon as we upload them into the system that we have. So they've already started to complete some of our process so that they can do 1 day on site instead of 2 to 3 days like it used to be. Yes.
So you have, excuse me, you have listed all of the folks that are, well, it looks like most of the folks, at least, that work in the jail. And so, but there's no public health or mental health folks listed here. Maybe you have it in a different part of your report. Forgive me, I didn't forward through.
No,
so can you give us a perspective of what that element looks like in the jail every day?
So yeah, our health folks are from Polk County Public Health. We have one RN that oversees several LPNs. We don't have 24/7 medical coverage, but we have about 20 hours a day medical coverage, which is better than most. But for us to have that, we'd have to increase that by several employees to make that 24/7, which we just don't have the ability to do that right now. I couldn't tell you right now off the top of my head if there's any missing or absent positions. I think there's at least one, but I could get back to you on that.
I'm doing it for the benefit of those watching.
So, yeah, and then we also have a nurse practitioner that comes in that sees inmates and handles the basic type medical needs that you would see a normal doctor for. She's not a doctor, but we also have a backup of a physician if that nurse practitioner isn't available.
Behavioral health?
Behavioral health, we have one staff member that's assigned to the jail from Polk County Behavioral Health. And so she works 40 hours a week. Ideally, that position would be 2. But staffing on the behavioral health side doesn't allow for that right now, just based on available bodies.
So that is a position, I don't recall, is that a position that is unfilled? That you have asked to have filled?
We've had it, we've asked for it to be filled. It's been filled, I think, twice, different times, and then either people leave or what have you. And so that one position is open right now on their end. So I don't know the reasoning, but
Well, it's likely staffing, volume. of
yes,
staffing.
yes,
Yeah.
that'd be my guess.
I'm just doing this, I'm asking these questions because for the benefit of our constituents out there, the jail is a place that has a lot of challenges for you. And a lot of it is on the staffing side, a lot of it's on the client side. But we should always keep talking about where our challenges there are there, how we're adjusting, you are adjusting for those challenges, how we need to help adjust on the other services side so that we can maintain the best possible outcomes for you and the staff and the folks that are living there as much as possible. I also wanted to add in this, your relationship, or just a better understanding of the relationship with West Valley Hospital and what happens there. They're very close, but how much do we depend on the hospital and its ability to interact with your jail command staff?
Yeah, so, when an inmate comes in off the street, the police officer brings them in. There's a variety of reasons why we would decline to accept someone unless they have a medical clearance. And the medical clearance isn't done by internal staff, it's done by the hospital. And so some of those reasons could be they were in a car crash, they're highly intoxicated, more above and beyond what we would consider normal intoxication levels. We do have the ability to have people do a breath test, and if it's over a certain number, then that's an automatic, hey, you got to go to the hospital first. I couldn't tell you how many times in the last month and a half or 2 months that we've sent somebody over there, but I hear on the radio, a couple times a week that we're declining to accept someone into the jail until they've been seen by medical staff outside at the hospital. So, and sometimes I'm sure it's more, but I've already heard it once this week and it's Tuesday. So.
And then finally, in association with the same subject, the encounters with behavioral, with mental health, challenged individuals and drug interactions. So is that plateaued or is it continuing to show increases for your team?
I actually think it's increasing slightly. There's been a couple of lulls where we've had a easier manageable number. But right now we have probably 30% of our jail population with significant mental health issues that cause us to have extra attention be placed on them just because of whether it's suicide screening or they're way off their medication and we have to monitor them, more frequently, every 15 minutes, every 10 minutes, whatever it may be, depending on that person. But yeah, those are definitely, I don't think it's plateauing. It's increasing slightly than what it's been.
Thank you.
On patrol, I'm not able to pull stats for a lot of the things that I would normally put in here just because of our CAD system and the city of Salem. It's just not an option right now to run stats. And so we're at the mercy of them. I am able to pull up some and some of those are just how many arrests we've made, warrant arrests. And the on view probable cause arrests is different than warrant arrests. 21 warrant arrests, 3 of those were cite and release warrants, but it's not a judgment call. If someone does a cite and release, it says on the warrant itself that the judge signed that this is a cite and release warrant. And typically those are not, they're not from circuit court. Those are from municipal courts, Dallas, Monmouth, Independence. So that's typically when you see those. Of the 55 arrests, I threw some of the, just without going through every single report is what we'd have to do. But assault 4, felon in possession of a weapon, reckless driving, ID theft, coercion, were just some of the samples of different cases that we've experienced. Traffic grant. So we did participate, and this was May through the whole month of May, not in June. We have another one starting here shortly. We did 40 hours of directed patrol. That's outside of our patrol staff's normal day-to-day stuff. So it's an overtime position that ODOT pays for. So they come out and they literally only focus on traffic enforcement. They don't have to go take calls or anything like that. So, and then the whole month, or all of June and most of July, we've issued 170 citations. We had 60 crashes. 38 of those were on state highways. OSP has been a pretty good partner and recently, as of late, just based on them coming over and handling most, if not all, the crashes that we've responded to, which is a good thing. Their staffing is obviously getting better. They still don't have anyone dedicated to Polk County like they used to. But they typically pull from the Salem Patrol Office, which is I-5 area. They'll pull somebody over if there's a crash over here to come and take that off of our deputies. So they're not doing it. But there are times where the deputy will show up, see the scene, and say, it makes no sense for me to wait for ODA or OSP to get here when I can take care of the crash, because the complexity maybe is not so bad, that they can get it knocked out pretty quick. So we do that from time to time too, but that's really situational dependent on the deputy that's on scene. We issued 321 CHLs and then processed and served 255 different civil processes, subpoenas, restraining orders, stalking orders, small claims, any of those kinds of documents. That's what that does. And our front office staff does the CHL and the civil process. So they've been busy up there. Regarding the crashes and citations, again, 38 of those occurred on state highways. And in the citations that we issued, without going through every single one, I was just pulling some random ones, pulled 20 or 30 of them, just looking at what is the most common citation, and it is for speeding. And it's anywhere from 71 to up to 101 miles an hour, the things that we've stopped, and those are going to be typically out on 22 or Highway 99. Most of those citations, though, are in that 79 to high 80s mark. It seems to be where most of them are. So with that, this has been a constant thing over the last several months. We have to, what we're doing isn't working like it should. We have to look at different ways to dedicate somebody out there more often than not, preferably have somebody dedicated out there all the time on working traffic stuff. But with our staffing right now, that's really hard because we have 3 different people at FTEP right now in training. We have 2 at the police academy. And so we're in that stage where we're just waiting for people to get signed off to be solo to be able to do that. I do believe once we have, there's a couple other factors, but I think we're going to have a position available that we can probably dedicate to traffic enforcement throughout the week. So, but that we have to get a few people off training for that to work. So,
Curious when you expect that position to be posted and filled.
it wouldn't be
Follow.
it wouldn't be a new position.
Oh.
It'd be one reassigning somebody, one of our deputies, to just do that. I pulled a couple of case highlights that over the last month and a half, just to give you an example of things that we're seizing during traffic stops and during investigations. These are both from traffic stops. And they both stemmed from a minor traffic violation, where we're covering a couple hundred different fentanyl pills, a shotgun. It's not an illegal shotgun, except it was illegal because it was in the possession of a felon. And that person also had meth and heroin and some ecstasy also. And then the other case was a pursuit that started here in Dallas, ended up in Fall City. And we ended up capturing the person just right by his car once he crashed into his own yard. And we got fentanyl off him. And with that case, though, he took a whole bunch of the fentanyl. My opinion, I was out there on scene. We were standing by with Narcan. Before medics got there, we were about ready to. Medics showed up, so they were able to do it. But they took those fentanyl pills. He took those fentanyl pills to avoid going to jail because he's probably going back to prison. He's been in prison multiple times. So these are just things that stop from a basic traffic stop. That our deputies are out there finding. The pursuit was noon, 1 o'clock. I mean, so it's not even like it's nighttime. It's during the daytime. The other one was the first one I talked about with the shotgun was during night shift. So, but anyway, so those are a couple of just the examples. They're not the only ones, but they're ones that I were able to find pretty easily with pictures that kind of can add emphasis to the types of cases those are, because they're serious cases. So, but that's all I have. Unless there's questions, I'd be happy to answer some.
So what's our last year and the year before, you had a lot of marijuana, illegal grow marijuana suspected sites. And I'm curious about what that activity looks like now as compared to the last 2 years.
The outdoor grows aren't as busy as they once were. And we've been able to confirm that by a variety of ways. And so we're not seeing those, where they throw up hoop houses and just out in the middle of the field or something. So we're not seeing those. We're still seeing the internal inside smaller operations that we've continued to see. We haven't been working on any of that for the last 2 months. Because we had a homicide case that we're still working, and I have 3 detectives that are assigned to that just based on the gravity of that situation. And so, prior to that 2-month mark, we were actively investigating multiple inside indoor grows, but we just don't have the bodies for that right now. So it's the way it is.
Are they, excuse me, do you think still potentially cartel level?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
And not just some person thinking, well, this is the way I can make money.
We have
Professional grade.
We have not run into that scenario at all. So
I just wanted to make sure that we added that in there so folks didn't think we won that war.
yes,
The general ag site may not be happening, but as you're saying, it's still buying homes. They're still taking over commercial spaces.
obviously it's harder to detect if they're growing indoors, but we have ways that we can verify that too, based on tips and that kind of thing. So
Was that grant program renewed for this work?
it's currently in effect, and I think it's through the end of 2024, if I'm not mistaken. So there's not a current opening for a grant cycle. It'll be interesting with that. About $40 million they had for this a year and a half ago when they came out for the solicitation. I think the number is 11 million is what it's going to get this time. And there are a lot of teams that in Jackson and Josephine County mainly. I mean, they hired 10 to 15 people off of these grants. And because theirs are outdoor large scale grows, and there's not even enough money to fund one of those offices to keep doing what they're doing. So unless there's something happens with the e-board, is that the right term? The e-board with the state for funding. But other than that, it's going to take a drastic hit. So we're probably not going to get funded. We're the lower end of the thing. So, but we still have to make that a priority because it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Of the calls you respond to, what percentage has to do with behavioral health in one way or the other?
That's a stat that I'm not able to pull, but I can.
Off your head, third, half?
Probably a quarter to a third, somewhere in that range. It doesn't necessarily mean there's always some we're not taking action on a mental health component, but there's definitely a history of that. And so we take that into account when we're dealing with that person.
Thank you, Sheriff, and
Thank
I'd
you.
like to give you personal thanks for that pursuit in Fall City. That was a little close to home for my comfort.
Yeah, across the street.
Yeah, but I really appreciate all the work there. That was a big one for the city.
That was. Thank you.
County. Thanks.
Yeah.
Hey, are there any non-listed items that we need to address? All right, with that, we'll adjourn at 9:40. Thank you.